Hey guys, my name is Matsumiao, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I'll give my humble opinion on them. To get the format out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question today comes from Daniel, and it is, do you think that Siege will make it to its 10-year goal as of right now? Only going into the 4th year. Are we in good shape? Well, I will admit that things were looking a bit rough, especially this last season. The netcode has just felt wonky. It doesn't feel like my shots are landing when they should. There's been a lot of bugs and glitches, but really the biggest thing that has detracted from my enjoyment of Siege is crouch and lean spam. Now, I know not everyone is going to agree with me on this one. Some people really enjoy this aspect of the game because it's another skill that they have to learn, but going against players that are running around corners at Mach 5 and then crouching and leaning left and right as fast as they can to make themselves a harder target really doesn't feel like Rainbow Six Siege for me. That's not why I got involved, and to see this become a part of the meta and see that this is something that you have to do to be able to compete at the higher levels really just makes me not want to play the game anymore. Thankfully, with this upcoming season and the announcement of Year 4, I am definitely more hopeful for the future of this game. As for the actual content that we're going to be getting, I'm also really excited for this next year. I know that some people are disappointed that we're only getting one new map, but I gotta admit, there is already a ridiculous amount of content in this game, and I think going back and trying to improve upon old maps and just simply make them better, not completely rework them like Hereford Base, I don't know if that was necessarily a mistake, but I feel like they could have handled that a bit better. Like, that map is definitely not my favorite now, not that it was my favorite back then, but to see them go into existing maps, still have the same theme. The one they gave for Cafe is probably the best example. It still looks like Cafe. It has the same layout, but they are adjusting the way that some of these objectives are going to play out, and I think it's really going to enhance the map overall. And so my hope is that not only are these maps going to be more enjoyable to play on, they're going to be more competitive. Maybe we'll see canals in ranked once again. That would be incredible if they're able to get it to that point. But also, this will give us that same sense of exploration, even though we are playing on technically old maps. And then finally, we have the two new operators, Mozzie and Gridlock. I think what I'm enjoying most about these two new characters is that they are going to be bringing value to both offense and defense. You are going to have a harder time roaming around if you're going against a Gridlock. If you're playing against a Mozzie, you need to be a bit more conservative with your drone because he can turn the tables on you. And I like that kind of dynamic. But what I enjoy most about them is that they are simplistic and they aren't meta-shifting, game-breaking operators. One thing I think that Ubisoft has always struggled with, and they admitted that this is something that they try to do, is that they want to introduce new characters that are going to shake up the game. And to some extent, I think that's one of the reasons why the game has excelled for as long as it has. Adding in new dynamics, things that people have to experiment with, and adding in different tactics, I think is one of the reasons why people have fallen in love with this game. But on the other hand, we also get Lion, Blackbeard, and Ella, which kind of ruin the experience. Now, you're probably thinking right now, okay, all of this sounds great, but how does it relate to the question of getting to that 10-year goal? Well, the short answer is that this is very difficult to answer. There are so many things that could happen over these next couple of years that we just simply can't account for. There could be a brand new game that comes out that's a direct competitor. It does what Rainbow Six Siege, but essentially better, and everyone drifts on over. There could be some internal politics amongst Ubisoft, and they go a different direction with the company, and they don't even support Rainbow Six Siege anymore. But what we do know is the roadmap that we have for Year 4, and I'm liking the direction that they are taking with Rainbow Six Siege. Even though I do have my issues, even though the game isn't flawless, seeing what they're doing with Year 4 has me hopeful. And so if they continue to update old maps, making them better, if they continue to bring us operators that aren't game-breaking, much more simplistic, changes up the game slightly, but not in a significant way, also while maintaining and trying to solve the big bugs and problems and meta-shifting stuff like crouch and lean spam, I think this game is going to have legs. At the end of the day, the reason why I have fallen in love with Siege is because of that competitive gameplay. It's really the only one out there that does what it does specifically. And so as long as Ubisoft doesn't do anything dramatic, as long as they continue to support the game the way that they have, and they go the direction that they've indicated with Year 4, I do think that this game game is going to last for much longer. The next question comes from Andy, and it is, how would you feel about Apex Legends adding a new champion to play that had the ability to use a kinetic shield that could then fire the damage back, similar to how the Titan Ion worked in Titanfall 2? I think this is an amazing idea, and honestly, I would not be surprised if we eventually did see a character that had an ability along these lines. If we look at a lot of the other legends and mechanics that we have in the game, a lot of them share similarities to Titanfall 2. The rappel, the grappling hook, there's a lot of content here that was reused, and honestly, probably for the better, and I could see them absolutely taking that very same concept and adding it into one of these new legends. What I like about this idea so much is that it could be used both offensively and defensively. You push into another team, you use all of your rounds in your primary weapon, and instead of switching on over to your secondary, you can quickly absorb a bunch of their shots while they're now freaking out trying to take you down, and then unleash that upon them as long as your accuracy is good enough. I think that's a really cool concept. Of course, you can also use this defensively. Another team pushes on in, they get the drop on you, and instead of just trying to simply run away as fast as you possibly can, activate the ability, absorb some of that damage, fling it back at them, or just try to survive for as long as you can and allow your teammates to hopefully shift that paradigm into your favor. This sounds like it would be more of a defensive character, kind of like Gibraltar, for example. Now, admittedly, I have no idea what their other abilities would look like. Is this their ultimate? Is this their normal ability that they can use frequently? That probably would be the case, but if it was strong enough, maybe it is their ultimate and they can only use it a couple of times in a match. It's hard to say. What I can say, though, is that I'm incredibly excited for new characters to be introduced. This is probably one of the reasons why I love Rainbow Six Siege so much. And so, yeah, I think this is an amazing idea, and honestly, I would not be surprised whatsoever if we did see something like this sometime in the future. The next question is, what are your thoughts on the changes to resetting players in Rainbow Six Siege? I was kind of surprised that they decided to do this. So if you're not aware of what he's referring to, with this next season, Ubisoft has made the change where if you get in the down but not out state, you're downed, you get revived by a teammate, you're now only going to have 20 HP compared to 50 HP. If I had to take a guess for why Ubisoft has made this change, I would assume it's because they're trying to reward people who actually down other players. If you take someone out, you drop them from 100% to 0, but you didn't do enough damage to actually take them out entirely, to then have them be revived with 50 HP, depending on what weapon you're using, that could mean 2 or 3 shots. That's enough to be able to allow them to win that next engagement. And so by reducing it down to 20, that little bit of an advantage or that buffer goes away almost entirely. Pretty much every weapon out there, with a couple of exceptions and how far away you are from them, is now going to be able to drop that player with 1 round. You don't need to get a headshot anymore. You put 1 round in their body and you're good to go. And so I'm assuming that's probably the biggest reason why they've done this. They just want to reward you more for downing someone, and while you're still going to be able to have a fighting chance if you do get revived, you are going to have to be on the ball and lining up those headshots if you want to win. The other reason that I can think of is that maybe Ubisoft just simply doesn't want the reset mechanic to be as prominent as it is right now. I'm sure you guys experience this constantly. Your teammate takes some damage, they get down to, let's say, 10 HP, they call out, hey, can I get a reset? And then you bring them back up to 50. They're now going to be a lot more hardy in that next engagement, which could win you the round. And so I think that's just really what it comes down to. They want to reward players for doing that damage, and even if they did get taken out, that damage still stands and they're not able to reset that, so their teammates will hopefully be able to take advantage of said damage in that next situation. The next question comes from Matt, and it is, was wondering what you would think about a feature in Apex Legends where you could continue to play with your other randomized squad after you have a great game with them, like Siege, for example. I think this is a phenomenal idea. Apex Legends is trying to be a more team-oriented battle royale. You're not supposed to be off by yourself solo, and so if you do have a good experience with random players, why not try to keep them together for the next round so they can continue on having a good time? Now, of course, you could send them a friend invite after that first match, but 1 round for 15 minutes doesn't really give you a good idea of what that person is all about. So do you really want to friend invite someone? They could turn out to be a horrible horrible person. Like, you don't really know, but if you could just simply play with them a couple more rounds, who knows? Maybe you could become friends with them. It's a lofty goal, but a distinct possibility. And so all in all, I 100% agree with you. The entire game revolves around teamwork, coordinating with your friends to be able to use your ultimates properly, when to push in, when to get out of an engagement, and really just sticking together as a cohesive squad. And if you are able to have a team with a bunch of randoms that just works, why not try to keep those people together? But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Do you think that Rainbow Six Siege is going to get to 10 years? Are you a bit worried about it? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.